guys, we are back in the reloading room, reloading our 308 brass that we just got done shooting, trying to get this load finished up. So I'm freaking excited. I think we finally found a bullet and a powder combination that freaking should rock. We just got off the range the other day shooting, well, you guys saw it, shooting 39.2 grains with a .339 MOA group. Not too good of chronograph results, but whatever. Had a 10 SD on it. Now we are pretty slow. 2451 is where we're sitting at. I know 308 can push 2700 no problem. Wrong app, come on now. So yeah, I mean, but that's kind of how it's always been for me. You know, even with my 6.5 Creedmoor bench gun and almost all my rifles, to be all honest, they always end up shooting the best group in a low velocity. And you'll see that, like, you know, a lot of people that you watch online, a lot of good reloaders, they say there's a low node, a middle node, and a high node. Now, I don't know if I'm in the low or middle, but I know I'm on one of them. I would say middle, because I'm not far from 2600. I would think low would be maybe... No, maybe I am low. I don't know. Either way, that's how it's always been for me, though. A lower velocity ends up getting me the best freaking group. Now, I can push the rifle pretty hard and probably find a better one up there. But as you guys saw in the last video, I'm already starting to see little teeny ejector swipes. I mean, minor. I know anybody else would probably just push through that and go up higher, especially since you're looking at the velocities at 2400. But I know I'm starting to get up there, so just for me, I'd rather not push it. So yeah, looking at the Hornady manual, Varget only goes to 2600. With a 168 grain bullet. Varget redlines at 44 grains in this manual. Hornady's always the more conservative manual. I will say that. They are always more conservative than other companies. So they probably do add a little leeway there. They don't want anybody getting hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt, so I'm sure they add maybe a little bit of leeway. But I know Hodgson, they're definitely hotter. Hodgson's an actual powder company, so they have nice systems to, I would imagine they have nice systems to check pressure all the way through the case, you know, and they go with what's safe. So it's not always coming down to, you know, oh, there's no pressure sign, so I'm under pressure. Either way, not to freaking go on a rant here. So I think I'm happy at 2400. That was a nice, as you guys saw, that was a nice freaking group. So I'm gonna stick around there anyways. Most people would probably say, hey, that's too low a velocity. But the way I always have been my whole life is let the target do the talking. And that's it. That's it. Like I said, I read all the chronograph numbers to you guys and all that. All that just goes out the window for me if the group looks good. If the group is a tiny group and you can repeat it, then absolutely. Now, it is a little bit different if you're shooting PRS all over the country because you're going to be in cold weather, hot weather, and all that. So you've got to kind of, you know, factor in other things there and load differently if you're doing that. But if you're just reloading throughout the season and you just got, you know, in your own backyard like I do, I'm pretty much shooting the same weather, a little bit different throughout the season from spring to summer to fall to winter, but I just got to tinker with it a little bit and it pretty much comes back into tune. So yeah, either way, so that's going to be the load we reload today. It's going to be a seating depth test. We're going to reload my normal style seating test, and it's going to be 39.2 grains. One thing I'm going to change up though, I got a couple Lake City I got a shit ton of Lake City 308 cases, like probably 10 coffee cans full. But what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to take out 2 Lake City cases out of my stash and make these defilers. That way I can have a full 25 rounds, 5 groups, you know, that don't have a cold bore shot in there and blah 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 and all that. So we're going to have 2 fowlers from here on out, just to kind of warm up the gun and go from there. So first things first, I already annealed these, so they're all annealed. That's the only thing that's been done to them. So we got to fully process them. As you guys know, I don't tumble my cases. I don't clean them unless I absolutely have to, which is usually never. The only time I tumble my cases is basically like the first time I shoot them. I'll fire for them, tumble them, and from there on, I don't tumble them again. Maybe halfway through the life cycle, I might tumble them again if they're really nasty. But none of my guns get the brass really nasty. As long as you have a sealed chamber, as long as your brass is sealing the chamber really well, you should only get a little bit of smokiness on the neck, and that's it. That's it. You shouldn't have. Now my ARs, obviously, I tumble that. You gotta tumble AR brass. Alright, so first things first, what I do after I anneal first all the time. So second thing I do in the process is get these primers out. Obviously, to do that, I just do my universal die and get it done quickly. I could just set it up right now with my sizing die and it would punch out the primers, but I just go through them all. I go through every single one, including the ones that are next in the cycle in my case. And just punch out the primers quickly, and that way it's a quick process. So that's it. Basically, a universal die is quick and easy. Bring down the die until it hits the top of the shell holder, and you're pretty much good. It will take anywhere from like a .17 caliber all the way up to .338, I do believe. So basically everything. The only thing it won't do is probably like maybe your ShyTac rounds and like 50 BMG and all that stuff. So that's what's good about these. You know, you can pretty much just buy one. And I recommend the Lee universal die because it's cheap as hell and there's no sense in buying a expensive universal die because it's doing one small little process. It's not squeezing the brass. It's literally just, I guess it is just holding the brass, loosely so you can punch out a primer. And that is it. So that's it. Run it up through, get all of them primed, and move on to the next step. Alright, I'm going to cycle all through these and get back to you in a minute. Alright guys, next step. I usually just go right to sizing. But first thing you want to do is get your caliper going and get it zeroed out. Get your comparator out, ready to go. See what your brass got headspace to this last firing. Shouldn't be wildly off from all the other firings, other than your first 3 firings of the rifle or the brass. Fire forming brass always fluctuates a little bit, but you should be at a consistent number. I am on, so all my brass is 3 times fired right now. We're moving on to 4, so it should be pretty much steady from here on out. And it's been steady even, I guess the first 2 firings it fluctuated just a teeny bit, but not much. Alright, so zero out your calipers. And let's see where we're at, headspace wise. 1.615, 1.615. Alright, so yeah, I changed the base because I was measuring with the wrong base. So they're all sitting around, I have a few that fluctuate. The majority is, so this one is 1.614, 1.614, and then we have a few that bump up to 1.617. Which this is the first time that's actually happened. And, well, I guess not the first time, because that's one thing I've noticed is when you do powder tests, your lowest charge will be different than your highest charge. So that is the problem with doing just tons of powder tests, is your brass never ends up all consistent and even. If you stay at a exact powder charge throughout all your brass, they kind of measure pretty even. So yeah, the majority is 1.617, which is about 1/1000th off from the last one. 1.616 was 2 times fired. And we have a few that is 1.614. So yeah, either way, we're going to get them all bumped to an even number, and or not an even number, but all consistent, and we'll get that going. Alright, so first thing I do, get these cases lubed up. Obviously I always use Imperial sizing die wax. Never gotten a stuck case, and that's not a lie. I've always used this Imperial, never stuck a case, so I always stay with it. It's a little bit harder to clean off than other stuff, I think, but it speaks for itself. I've never had to frickin' unstick a case. And you know, I shouldn't have said that right now, because today will be my first one, guaranteed, because I just said that. Alright, I'm going to get all these lubed, and we'll move on to getting them sized. Alright, so they're all lubed up to size. Basically, you're going to kind of control the bumping of the shoulder, is what I do. That's how I dictate, you know, how I size my case. So what I do to start off with, if you don't have everything all set up, then take your sizing die, run up your ram all the way to the top, screw your sizing die down until it hits the shell holder, and back it off like half a turn or a turn. From there on, you can start sizing and controlling your headspace or your bump, your shoulder bump. I recommend for a nice working bolt gun, 2, 3, I would say anywhere between 2/1000 to 4/1000 should be fine, and anywhere between there. You don't have to hit that magic 2/1000 number, not a big deal. If you want to get really fancy, or not fancy, I do it, take out your, if you have the tools, and take out your firing pin and your ejector, your firing pin and ejector, and put the case, empty case in your gun, and bump it until your bolt closes easy on it. It doesn't have to drop freely, but almost drop freely. You know, just nice and crisp. Shouldn't have to put any pressure on it to drop it. And that's the real way to know if your, you know, brass is bumped and headspace correctly. Now, I only do that the first couple firings. After that, I take that number down and see what it likes, and this sits nice at 3,000. Bolt close freely, you know, on the last brass, bumping at 3/1000 the last few times, so 3/1000 is a good number for this brass. That's basically it. So I'm gonna start. I have everything all set up with this gun. Obviously, I've sized it, worked good. So 1.614 on this brass. So I'm gonna run it up. I'm gonna take the priming thing out. Alright, and make sure you guys can see everything. Go ahead and hold it a little bit of dwell time, and then let it go. And see what you get. Honestly, this brass that's sitting at 1.614, I don't really even need to bump, because 614 1.614 is, that's fits in my gun no problem. I know it does. Because 1.620, the brand new brass, was a little tight, but not too bad. So I know this is no problem. So I've always bumped it about 3 thousandths to make it drop freely, and it's always worked good. So let's see here. So that's probably what I'm going to do actually now I'm thinking about it. So this bumped to 611. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it bumped it, yeah, 4 thousandths. So I could probably back that die off just a little bit. 4 thousandths is just a hair. I mean, honestly, I could keep it at 4 thousandths, to be all honest. It's not that big of a deal. So you want to unscrew the die, back off the die a little bit. Literally like a C hair. Alright, so that should be good. Let's go from there. Let's measure this. Anything sitting at 1.614, I'm going to leave. So this one's 614. I'm going to leave that. Don't need to, well, shit. No, I got to size it anyways, because, yeah, duh. What am I, freaking amateur here? You got to size it no matter what a little bit, because you have to close down the mouth of the case. If not, your bullet will just fall right through and into your powder. So I'm just going to bring it up to the shoulder a little bit and back it off. Let's see what this ended up. Yeah, 612. It's good. So that one only bumped it a little bit. This is the one I want to check, because this is where the brass goes up to 1.617. So it's 1 thousandths difference than the last brass. Honestly, I could probably just back the die so it just doesn't bump the shoulder at all on all of these ones, and it'd be fine. Because for some reason they didn't grow as much as the last ones. Well, a few did, and that was probably the highest charge. 1.612, so sitting right at 612. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I'm gonna back that die off, because that's bumping it like freaking 5 thousandths, and I don't need that. Too much, too much. I need it to get sized, but not that much. Let's try that. And that's basically it, guys. Just control your bump, and you'll be golden. And if you don't need to bump the shoulder at all, like I said, if you were doing a light load, then kind of back off your die and just fully size it. You got to make sure you fully size it, but make sure when it's hitting the shoulder, it's just hitting the shoulder. It's not bumping the shoulder back. It's, you know, because you got to make sure you control the size of your brass on the base, because you'll start sticking in the base. Your base will grow bigger than the rest. So you got to make sure the case goes all the way in no matter what. But you can have it so it doesn't fully or just reach the beginning of your shoulder, and that's it. It doesn't push the shoulder back. And I would recommend doing that if your brass isn't growing back to where you know it will fit. Then it's good to, you know, and if you actually have just an exciser, I don't always recommend this, but you can do that as well. I know Eric Cortina is a big negative on that, but I'll tell you, people have been excising for years, and you can get incredible groups with it. But what I recommend is only nexize if, like you're in my situation here, where it's not growing back to where, you know, it's max headspace, you know, because a few of those were lighter loads, you know, doing a powder charge test. So by doing that, the ones that are a lot lower, just take and nexize them and let them grow the next firing to max. It will only take one more firing to get it up there anyways, but, and yeah, and go from there. just control your headspace and your shoulder bump. Basically, I say headspace, you know, it's kind of that. It's the max your brass is from the back of your bolt to, you know, the shoulder in your chamber. So I'm going to get the rest of these sides, guys, and we'll move on from there. Alright guys, so all of them are sized. They're all sitting pretty much at where they left off last time. They're all fitting in the gun, not too snug. I feel a little bit of resistance with the bolt, but not bad. I just would like to get all this back up to where they need to be. And I'll be doing a seated depth test, so all of them will be the same charge, which will be good. So all the ones that were sitting at 1.618 got bumped pretty much 2,000s back, and the ones that were sitting at 614 left alone. A couple of them got bumped, I think, 1,000s because they were hitting just a hair. But either way, this firing should get all this back up. Now, funny thing is the two Lake City pieces I had, they were they were up to 1.638, so way above. I ran them through the same die, and it only dropped it to 1.623. So it's kind of funny, just with the thickness of the brass and all that. That's pretty big difference. So I tried chambering the Lake City brass at 1.623. The bolt barely closed, but it did kind of cam over enough to extract it, but that's it. When I bumped it again, I adjusted the die and I bumped it to 1.619, which is 3,000ths over, you know, 616 is where they came out of the gun the last time. It would go into battery and good to go, but you could feel it. It was snug, very snug. So I think 617 is about my perfect. 617, 618, somewhere there is my perfect headspace. Not too tight, not too short. Alright, so next is figuring out if we gotta trim these bad boys here. So let me get the comparator off. Let me zero out the calipers. Alright, let's measure them. 2.015 is where I'm sitting. Max case length is 2.015. Case trim length. So they want you to trim it to 2.005. They don't want it to grow anything past 2.01. Yeah, trim it to 2.005, and they don't want your case to grow anything past 2.015. So this first case is sitting exactly at max case length. So it would be a good candidate to actually stick in my gun and see where it's actually sitting up against the wall. And you know, some chambers out there, and maybe this one I haven't measured it, but some chambers at max trim length, you may be getting dangerously close to the actual wall. But like with my Criterion barrel for my 6.5 Creedmoor, I can almost trim, I think it was like 15th or 15,000ths over their max trim length, and I'm still 12,000ths away from the chamber wall. So that's what I mean. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So yeah, so all these are pretty much sitting at max trim length. So this time around, I'll probably just trim it a couple thousandths, and then I'll make a case tonight, and that way the next time we go through this, I'll know exactly what I need to do. So yeah, I'm gonna go through and trim. Basically, my trimming is done on the Case Prep Center, the Frankfurt Arsenal. I think I already have it set. that might be taking a little bit too much off. Let me check. Yeah, it's trimming it to 2.008, so above their trim length, but I kind of like to leave it close to their max case length. That way, if I need it to grow a lot more to close the gap of, you know, the carbon ring space, then I don't have to let it grow a ton. Yeah, let me adjust this just a tad. So you just got to back this out. Let's try that. A little bit of a turn, not much. Okay, yep. You can feel it's taking just a little bit off. Yeah, it did hit it. We're sitting at 210, 2.0110. So yeah, 2.010. So yeah, that's good enough. That way if I gotta let it grow, few firings and it will be up to whatever I need it to be. Alright, I'm gonna go through these also after I trim. I basically run it through the deburr, outside, inside deburr, and then hit the primer pocket. And go from there. Now with the outside, inside deburr, make sure you don't leave it on there very long. Like literally, let me move to this case here. Literally just set it on there for a second. Don't push hard, because if you leave it on there too long, you'll actually sharpen the edge of the case mount, and you can actually scrape some of the copper off the bullet when you're seating. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna run through the rest of these, get them all prepped, get them all trimmed, deburred, pockets clean, and then we are moving on to the last step. Well, not the last step, I guess. Many more steps, but last prep step, I guess, which is running the mandrel through the mouth. Alright guys, be right back. Alright, let's get these guys primed up. Actually, no, let's do mandrel first. Probably a better idea. So, I use Wilson mandrel. Works really good. No complaints so far. I'd like to get one size smaller because I think my neck tension's still a little too tight. Or it is tighter than I would like it. Alright, so a little bit of Imperial dry lube, neck lube. Just take it, dip your case on in, put it in, run it up through once, give it a little quarter spin, run it through again. Done. Dip it in the lube. If your lube doesn't look like you're getting any powder on the neck at all, put your cover back on the Imperial sizing, or the dry neck lube case. Put the cover back on and give it a shake, because a lot of it probably settled to the bottom. Just throw it back on, shake it like that, and then you should get a lot of the stuff back. This kit came with a whole big jar of powder that I can add to it, but half the time, you know, you don't gotta do that. You just gotta give it a little shake because it's just settled to the bottom. Give it a little quarter spin, run it up 2 times, dip it in, run it up through, a little spin, run it up through again. Because my Frankfurt Arsenal powder dropper shit the bed and broke after a month, or I don't know, what was it, a couple months maybe tops. I think that's the next piece of equipment I'm going to buy. I am not rebuying Frankfurt Arsenal, and don't get me wrong, don't think I'm never going to buy Frankfurt Arsenal again, because that is the first Frankfurt Arsenal piece of equipment that has broke on me. I love Frankfurt Arsenal stuff, and it's all been very reliable. But let me know what you guys think I should do. My choices so far are the RCBS Chargemaster Lite or Link or Lite or whatever. Their smaller version. It's the $300 dropper. Should I go with the Hornady lab scale? Because those are in my price range. I would love to go ahead and get like the Ingenuity, you know, frickin' dropper that that company just made, or the V3, or you know, any one of those, or a Sartorius, or. But I can't spend $1,200, dude. I just can't. It's just too much. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are running. Would be great, actually. If you guys are just stuck in the Stone Age with me right now, you know, doing regular digital scales, and because right now you guys know what I use. It's the Frankfurt Arsenal mini digital scale that I've had for over 10 years, and the OHAS beam scale to just double check to make sure my scales are on and they're weighing correctly. Let me know what you guys are using, and let me know what I should get. Those are in my price range, or if there's something else in that price range that you guys know that works good or whatever, let me know. I'll get it. But I did a little bit of research, and those are the two that kind of suit my needs. I'm thinking about the RCBS Lite just because it's a dropper and not see the lab scale. I'd still have to hand weigh everything, but I've heard that the RCBS Lite powder dropper they have, I heard it weighs really consistent and has a really accurate scale on it. So if I can get damn good accuracy with a quick powder throw, you know, it's best of both worlds. And that's even a little bit cheaper than Hornady's lab scale by, I think, $100. But I don't know, let me know what you guys are using, and we'll see what I can't do. But I'm gonna get something. Gotta get something. Alright, so moving on. Got the Mandrel through these. Let's get some primers. Some primers going. Alright, let's get you guys down here. Alright, so I use the Universal RCBS priming tool. With this, we've been running the BR2s, CCI large rifle BR2s, in this load. So we're going to stick with these. Go ahead and flop them in there. Get this started before you try and, because the first one pops them and they go everywhere anyways. So first little click, you got to get it set, and then you shake it to turn them over. Because if you get them all turned over and then try and put that plastic cover off, the first little bounce will flip them. And then you line it up and do it quick. Because someone said you just do it quick right off the get-go, but that first one, I've done it super fast, and you got to get that set in there in the first little notch, and then you shake them. So on this one is when you go quick. And they're all set. Lock it up. Throw it in. Unlock it. Let them move down into the contraption there. And start priming. Yeah. Lock it into the jaws. Give it a good squeeze. And run your finger over it. And that's just below flush. That's about it. Yet again, another easy, repetitive process. You know, that's how reloading is. And even with liking reloading a lot, there's still processes that you're like, ah, goddamn. But, alright guys, I'm going to finish these up, get these going, and then we'll start weighing up some powder. Alright guys, it is time for powder. So on the two fowlers, I just put some of my old primers that I got, some of my old style Remington. You know, they're just fowlers, so no sense in wasting my good bench rest fucking $18 a sleeve primers for it. Oh my god. $18 a sleeve, man. I don't think I'd ever have to say that, but whatever. Let's get some powder in these bad boys. So, I think I already told you guys the loads. I'll repeat it one more time. We are going with 39.2 grains. We're doing a seeding depth test, so we always start from touching, or, you know, touching is where we end off, I guess. On the Creedmoor, I think I am going to try some jamming lands on that, because that gun still isn't quite shooting the way I would like, but we'll tackle that. We'll be moving on to some Creedmoor videos here coming up. I just wanted to start. I love shooting this 308. Honestly, this rifle wasn't shooting the way I would like either, but I'll tell you, this last load, last couple times out, it's getting there. It's getting really good. 0.3 inch group, man, that was great. Great shooting last time, especially. Time before that was decent as well. So yeah, 39.2 grains of Varget. We're going to go from 25 off the lands to touching, and if we want to move further back than that, I might. We're not doing 20 off the lands because we already shot that in the seeding, or in the powder test. That's what all the powder test was 20 thousandths off the lands. So we're doing 25 thousandths off the lands, 15 thousandths off the lands, 10 thousandths off the lands, 5 thousandths off the lands, and touching the lands. And I may do another round going from 25 to, like, I don't know, 50 or something like that. We'll do 25, we'll do 30, 35, 40. Yeah, let me see here. We'll do 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 is probably what we'll do. So we'll do 2 seeding depth tests. That's one thing I got to start doing, is doing a broader range on powder testing and and seeding depth tests. And like someone mentioned in the comments, I could actually up the amount I do each time. Like, instead of doing 3/10 with the powder test, I could do 5/10, and it would do a broader range. Same with seeding depth. Instead of 5 thousandths each, you could do 10 thousandths each away from each other. But I'll probably keep doing what I'm doing, but just I'll use more bullets, but whatever. I'll just do a broader range. So I did 2 powder tests with this, and I'll probably do 2 seeding depth tests as well. Alright, so these are all calibrated, ready to go. Make sure you guys can see this. I'm not going to show you guys a ton of this anyways. There's no sense. You guys have seen it a ton. I know a lot of you guys like watching reloading videos just like me. Like I said, I could sit there and watch Johnny's reloading bench for hours, just watching him reload bullets. And he was the same way. Like, he would always say in the camera, like, oh, you guys have seen this 100 times, I don't need to show you, whatever. But, you know, one thing he doesn't realize is, or he might realize, I don't know, a lot of, like, with me, I like watching a lot of that repetitive, stuff. I've watched him seed a bullet thousands of times, but still, I'll watch his next video, and, I know he's done doing it now, but I like watching the process of reloading, even though it's pretty much the same. Some people have little different steps here and there, but I like reloading. It's fun. Alright, so we're shooting for 39.2. And this is where a powder dropper really helps. If you're changing, doing a powder test, throwing them by hand, whatever, because you're changing every 5 bullets anyways. Powder dropper still makes it faster, I'm not saying that, but at least with the seating test, they're all the same charge throughout the whole thing. So you can just hit the button and go. So 39.2 is what we're looking for. Oh, I don't have my trickler ready is what's missing in this equation. I was like, man, something's I'm not even gonna bother use my balance beams because I already know this Frankfurt Arsenal is about 1/10 off. Alright, we'll trickle in the rest. We're at 37.6. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's hard to get the resolution of a scale in there. Back that off just a hair. Yeah, you guys can see it now. 39.1.2. Looks good to me. Moving on. Alright guys, we will move on to seating right after this. Alright guys, let's get this, get some bullets seated. I'll just show you a couple like I've been doing. I'm going to start off with touching the lands first, and then we'll move our way out. So always check, make sure you guys can see all this. Yeah, make sure you double check. You got powder in it. Go ahead and throw it in there. And any new people watching, with a seating die, you basically just raise your ram all the way up, screw your die down until it touches the shell holder, and you can screw it in a little bit more, like a half turn more, but you can leave it pretty much just touching the shell holder, because you're adjusting your seating. It's just when you run out of adjustment here is when you need to change, you know, how far your die needs to be screwed down and all that good stuff. But touching the shell holder should be good, and just back out your seating stem and you're good to go. So touching the lands on this rifle, the 308 is 2.225. So yeah, I gotta back this out. Let me back it out, I don't know, 3 or 4 turns here. See where we're sitting. Hopefully I didn't go over. And that's a CBTO measurement, not a COL. Calipers are all zeroed out. So I'm sitting at, oh, can you guys see that? Maybe. 2.284. So I'm looking for 2.225. So 84, 74, 64, 54, 44, 34. Let's try that first. Yep, 2.235, so pretty much there. So let's go a little bit more. I'm looking for 25. I think it's 25. Yeah, 2.225. That is what I'm looking for. So we're at 35. So let's go 30. Fuck it, we'll go all the way. 25. Sometimes I like to sneak up on the number. Yeah. 2.22 5. So perfect. So let's get the rest of these seated real quick. And as long as you have a good consistent bumped shoulder, and as long as your bullet manufacturer has a good ogive, then you should just be able to seat the bullet, measure it, and they should all come out perfectly, or at least within a couple 10,000ths, or maybe a full thousandth would be alright, I guess. A full thousandth is fine, yeah. But I don't even really get that. As long as your ogive manufacturer, or as long as your bullet manufacturer has a consistent ogive, which pretty much all the companies, major companies, Berger, Hornady, frickin' Sierra, Barnes, all the prime companies, they make a damn good bullet, and you really don't got to worry about the ogive. The only ones I worry about is I'll get quite a few bullets from Midway, like the remanufactured ones or whatever they're called, for cheaper. They're still a Hornady bullet, but it came off the press, weird or something, or so sometimes with those I'll always double check. And I have had some batches that have varying ogive on those, so you got to kind of adjust the die on that one. But that's about it. Alright, last one, and it is on the money again. 2.225. Alright guys, I'm going to end it there. I'll get the rest seated. We'll get out on the range tomorrow. It's getting a little dark tonight. So, yeah, get these shot tomorrow. And we'll go from there. I appreciate everything you guys do. Comment. Let me know what you guys are using as well. For scale, I appreciate that. And let me know if you are using our CBS Chargemaster Light. Let me know how it works. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one.